Hello and welcome to History Buff. In this video we are delving into some of the UK's most haunted castles. Apologies in advance for any mispronunciations, and any castles that I've missed off this video I'll try to cover in future videos. I would also like to thank all of you for supporting the channel so far, but now it's time to sit back and enjoy. Tulloch Castle, Dingwall. Tulloch Castle dates way back to the 12th century, and it has had a long and colourful history. These days, the castle welcomes travellers from up and down the country into its luxurious period surroundings. And like many period properties dating back to this time, Tulloch Castle also has a resident ghost known as the Green Lady. Tulloch Castle is actually thought to have many ghosts, but the most cited ghost, and the ghost that's most talked about, is the Green Lady. She has been cited so frequently, the bar in the castle is actually named the Green Lady Bar, and a portrait of the lady believed to be the Green Lady, Elizabeth Davidson, hangs in the Great Hall. It is believed that Elizabeth Davidson fell down the stairs to her death while running away from her father after seeing him with another woman. The Green Lady is also one of the few ghosts that has been captured on film, prompting numerous investigations into the castle. A number of paranormal teams have investigated the castle over the years, and they have found some very interesting results. From balls of light, orbs and icy cold patches of air have been seen and felt, and constant noises, clicks, bangs and thuds have been recorded on film, all of which with no explanation. Here is the recorded clip which shows what is believed to be the Green Lady. What do you think? Treasurer's House, North Yorkshire. This picturesque townhouse nestling in the city of York has many tales to tell, including celebrity parties, workmen who wore slippers to keep the noise down, and a promise by its former owner to return to haunt the building if anything was changed after his death. The Grade 1 listed property behind York Minster, which dates back to the 1800s, is highlighted in the map of the UK's most haunted locations. This list was created using publicly available data along with specific recommendations from Paranormal Research Investigators UK. The National Trust says many people have reported seeing the ghosts of Roman soldiers in the cellars of the house, with the best known account coming from retired policeman Harry Martindale. It said he was installing a central heating boiler in the cellars when he heard the sound of a trumpet. And then he saw the top of a soldier's helmet apparently emerging from a wall. Harry leapt from his ladder and, watching in disbelief as behind the trumpet player plodded a horse and about 20 soldiers walking two abreast, carrying lances, round shields and short swords. Terrified, he shot upstairs. He bumped into the curator, who said, before Harry could utter a single word, "By the look of you, you've seen the Romans." Craigennos Castle, Swansea. Wales is famed for its many castles, but what is less well known are the stories behind the ghosts said to reside in many of them. From a superstar opera singer who smashes items on hearing a detested record, to a murdered gamekeeper who still stalks his estate. Wales castles and mansions are a treasure trove of ghost stories. But for Halloween, journalist, author and self-confessed ghost geek Mark Rees has shared his favourite stories. Mark Rees said that Craigennos Castle in Brecon Beacons is one of the most famous haunted places in Wales. He also said, ironically, Craigienoss is not actually a castle. It was named by posh Victorians who wanted to call their fancy homes castles. He said it meant the ghost stories attached to the Victorian home were much scarier than the usual stories of princesses trapped in towers attached to many of the Wales' fortified historical castles. Mark Rees even had his own paranormal encounter when visiting Craigienoss. It happened when he was part of a group being led by a medium. They were under the stage of the mansion's theatre where the orchestra used to play. They were scrying, looking into mirrors in the hope of seeing messages or visions, when he said he saw something unsettling. He and another man were standing behind a woman who was looking into a mirror. Mark looked at the other man and said, "She's got a beard, hasn't she?" The woman clearly saw it as well because she freaked right out, jumped up, and then said words I can't repeat on YouTube. However, when she sat down again, it was gone. Some 5 years later, he was in the exact same spot with a friend, and they had set up lights and a camera for filming. Just as he was telling him about his previous spooky experience, a bulb in one of the lights exploded. He jumped out of his skin, and it was all caught on camera. Mark said, "I am sure it is just a freaky coincidence with dodgy electrics, but either way, it's one of those moments that if it wasn't paranormal, it was certainly very funny and memorable." Craigienoss is famous for once being the home of the 19th century superstar opera singer Adelina Patti, who for 25 years sang by private invitation for Queen Victoria. When she died, there were stories that she loved the house so much she was still there. One way in which ghost hunters believed that they were able to contact her was by playing a record she recorded at the end of her career when her voice was past its best. Some say when the offending record is played, items are smashed and thrown around the room. After Patty's days, Craigienoss became a TB hospital and then care home for the elderly. Craigienoss Castle can be a wonderful place, but it's also a place that has seen a lot of death. Alnwick Castle, Northumberland. Alnwick Castle resides in Northumberland, England, and served as a home to the Percy family, including the current 12th Duke of Northumberland. This grand spectacle of a castle is also called the Windsor of the North. Not only did the castle accommodate residents, including Harry Hotspur, but it played a crucial role in shaping the history of England, including border wars with Scotland and the Wars of the Roses. In modern times, Alnwick Castle has been featured in several features such as Downton Abbey and Harry Potter. It was said by the 12th century chronicler William of Newburgh that a deceased master of the castle would rise from his tomb during the hours of darkness to prowl the town's streets. Local priests told how his body left such a stench of death that pestilence broke out. Local villagers blamed the vampire for the plague outbreak and set out to end the misery. William wrote in the Newburgh Priory, "They armed themselves with sharp spades, and betaking themselves to the cemetery, they began to dig. And whilst they yet thought they would have to dig much deeper, they came upon the body covered with but a thin layer of earth. The body was gorged, swollen, with a frightful corpulence. The men then struck the body with a spade, and from the wound poured fresh blood, proving it was the vampire. The body was then taken from the castle grounds and burnt to ashes, after which the pestilence ended. On frequent occasions, many people have spotted the ghost of the Grey Lady when walking in the tunnels deep below the castle. She is presumed to be the ghost of a young teenager girl from Victorian times who worked as a maid at the castle. According to legend, she actually fell down a chute to the tunnels below one day while working in one of the kitchens. Purposely, the dumb waiter for raising and lowering food between levels broke and fell on top of her, crushing the young girl to death. It is believed her spirit still roams the dark corridors and passages hidden below the castle. Muncaster Castle, Cumbria. Paranormal researchers visit the Cumbrian castle to seek rational explanations of the strange happenings. Many tales revolve around Tom Fool, aka Thomas Skelton, which was both a court jester and a serial killer, and also the person that the saying tomfoolery derived from. Although Tom is rarely seen, his spirit continues to play tricks on family, staff and visitors. Hauntings also often occur in the tapestry room. Visitors complain of the disturbed nights, hear footsteps outside in the corridor, and see the door handle turning and the door opening although nobody is there. A child is frequently heard crying towards the window end of the room, and sometimes a lady heard singing, comforting a sick child. Visitors have also felt cold in the room for no apparent reason. In the 16th century, when Sir Ferdinand Pennington was master of Muncaster Castle, his daughter, Heloise Pennington, fell in love with a young carpenter. But Heloise was already betrothed to a knight, and in anger at his daughter for daring to love someone deemed unworthy, Sir Ferdinand paid his jester to murder the carpenter. Thomas Skelton later presenting the carpenter's severed head as evidence of the deed. The headless body of the young carpenter is said to roam the castle ever since, searching for his lost love. Another story connected with the house is that of Margaret Pennington, a little girl, often ill apparently, who died in childhood at the castle. Other stories concern the Muncaster Bogle, or the White Lady who haunts the gardens and roadways around Muncaster. She is supposedly the ghost of Mary Bragg, a young girl murdered in the 1800s on the road near the main gate. Dalhousie Castle, Midlothian. Arguably one of the most haunted places in Edinburgh is Dalhousie Castle. Dalhousie Castle ghost stories feature two important ghosts who have graced these walls for centuries and have had tragic ends causing them to haunt the castle and its residents. The Earls of Dalhousie, namely the chieftains of Clan Ramsay, have held the castle for almost 800 years, contributing to the authenticity of the existence of paranormal activities in the castle. The stunningly luxurious castle hosts a bevy of ghost activities to enrapture the guests as well as chill their spines. Several ghosts are believed to be roving the halls of Dalhousie Castle, but the most frequent and famously seen ghost in the castle is the Grey Lady. The Grey Lady is the nickname for Lady Catherine, a 16-year-old mistress of one of the large estate owners in the Ramsay clan. However, when his wife found out about the affair, she imprisoned Catherine in one of the towers and left her to starve to death. Catherine now haunts the towers, the stairs, the main corridor, and the dungeons in the castle. Many guests have claimed to have heard the rustling of Catherine's dress, knocking on doors, and tapping on the shoulders of the guests. Guests have often seen the castle ghost sitting at the end of a bed while passing through the halls. Many people have actually mistaken her for staff with her grey dress and puffed up sleeves, sharp features, and tiny feet in little pointed shoes. The Grey Lady was also believed to have graced many weddings in her usual attire. She was even captured in a picture from a wedding in 2004 and has been stalking the corridors and turrets by the castle piper Andrew Sharp. Many accounts from guests and staff claim that she hates the bagpipe music, as whenever she is near, bagpipes have been heard to play out of tune. Phantom activities are so extensive at the Castle Hotel that ghost tours have been scheduled at regular intervals in Dalhousie Castle, allowing individuals to experience some of the eerie occurring themselves. Many have claimed that the Dalhousie Castle ghosts mind their own business and are harmless. Guests who were not even a part of ghost tours have also encountered bizarre activities, including unexplained noises, movement of objects, and footsteps in the night, as they have been left mystified. Even though the ghosts are perceived to be harmless and friendly by staff and guests, few were positively chilled when the Grey Lady waved at them from a window or having heard sudden unprecedented noises. The only conclusion that can be extracted about the castle is that seeing the Dalhousie Castle ghosts and wandering the castle's corridors requires guts. Berry Pomeroy Castle, Devon. Berry Pomeroy Castle sits in the middle of, well, nowhere. Since the Norman conquest of England in the 11th century, people have settled on the land at Berry Pomeroy and its surrounding countryside. The area is rich in history and full of ruins. Today it is managed and owned by the English Heritage. Regarding the supernatural, the two better known spirits that haunt Berry Pomeroy Castle are the White Lady and the Blue Lady. I'm not entirely sure why female ghosts always end up being described by the colour of their dress, but here we go. The White Lady is supposed to be the ghost of Lady Margaret Pomeroy. The myth tells that her sister Eleanor was a jealous and mean woman. When the man who Eleanor wanted went for her sister Margaret, Eleanor locked Margaret in the dungeon, and there Margaret tragically perished. It is said that unfortunate witnesses can often see her rising out of the dungeon and wandering the ramparts. People who claim to have seen her say that she comes accompanied by feelings of depression, uneasiness, and sadness. The story of the Blue Lady dates back as far as the 18th century and tells of a lady dressed in blue. The lady in blue is meant to be a particularly mean and spiteful ghost, even evil. She is meant to be the daughter of one of the Norman knights who inhabited the previous castle on the land where Berry Pomeroy now sits. The story tells that she was forced into an incestuous relationship with her father, resulting in a child. Her father was so angry that he strangled the child, and in her grief she died. She is now said to haunt the castle, wandering the empty rooms and luring unsuspecting men to their deaths. Ruthin Castle, Denbighshire. Ruthin Castle is not just famous for its history, but also for its paranormal activities. Also, many castle stories are related to executions, tortures, murders, and suicides. It is believed that all of these mysterious activities taking place in the castle have left their mark on it, and as a result, people are constantly reporting on having seen a ghost at the Ruthin Castle. Lady Grey is the most active and well-known spirit of Ruthin Castle, and many visitors have encountered her ghost. Based on the Ruthin Castle history, Lady Grey was the wife of the second in command of the castle. She found out that her husband was having an affair with a local peasant woman. The wife caught them red-handed and killed her husband's mistress with an axe in jealousy. She was found guilty and declared to be in a state of madness immediately, and was later sentenced to death. However, local clergymen didn't allow her body to be buried on the consecrated grounds. Her body was therefore buried outside the castle's walls. Because of not getting a proper funeral, it is believed that her ghost still exists in the castle, as seen here in this reported sighting. Many visitors have reported spotting this Ruthin Castle ghost wandering on the grounds and in the abandoned rooms on the upper floor. According to some reports, a dark shadow of a woman has seen walking through the banquet hall with an axe. Another ghost of Ruthin Castle, noticed by some people, is of a soldier. Reportedly, the ghostly figure of a soldier, dressed up in full armour, was seen wandering on the grounds of the castle. It is thought to be a soldier who once served in King Edward's army and died while defending the castle. People who witness this castle ghost mention that he never interacts with anyone and looks like he is not aware of his surroundings. Many paranormal activities are reported during Ruthin Castle ghost hunts, but none of them has been as haunted as room 222 of the castle. Visitors have constantly reported experiencing extreme temperature drops around this room. Also, some people heard the sounds of slamming doors and continuous taps around them. Getting constant reports of experiencing similar activities in room 222 by visitors makes it the most haunted part of Roofing Castle. Roofing Castle even broadcasts live from room 222 in case of any supernatural occurrences. The owners of Roofing Castle has changed several times since its existence. Until 1960, Roofing Castle was used as a hospital for people suffering from rare diseases, which made it a location for even more deaths. Later, it was converted into a hotel. The guests and visitors have been experiencing paranormal activities during their stays and visits ever since it was opened for the public. Now, the castle is known to be one of the most haunted locations in Wales, and was even featured on the TV series Most Haunted. Would you dare enter any of these castles and experience the otherworldly? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching History Buff. Please remember to like and subscribe, and click the notification bell to be reminded of any future uploads from the channel.